Hey guys, it's the WalterFootball.com After Dark Show for October 10th, 2024. Going to be doing a Week 6 fantasy football deep dive. We usually do this on Wednesday with Kenny. The Cap is Fake. Go to thecapIsFake.com to see all Kenny's work. Unfortunately, Kenny is in the middle of a hurricane right now. He lives in the Orlando area, so he said 11 o'clock is going to be like the center of the storm. So hopefully he's okay. He texted me about an hour ago, said that there was some flooding down the hill, but he's on top of a hill, so his house is doing fine for now. So hopefully that continues. Also, hopefully Charlie's okay too. Charlie lives in Tampa, so I believe that's like the worst part. So yeah, hope everything's good with them. I did send Kenny this link. I'm like, on the off chance you somehow have internet and power, and if you have time, if you're not concerned, if like the storm's not nearly as bad as everyone says it is, feel free to come on. But I don't think he's going to make an appearance. That's why I put in the description like maybe Kenny. So yeah, so hopefully those guys will be okay, and we'll get to see Kenny next week. But in the meantime, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store, and leave any comments. I'll answer anything. It doesn't even have to be fantasy related. You guys know how we do this. When I fly solo here, I'll just we'll be super spicy because I can't get canceled, and like I always worry about like my co-hosts like getting in trouble. But I can't get in trouble because I fund my own operation. I do everything here. So and I can't technically fire myself. Well, I could, I guess. It wouldn't make any sense, but I could. So anyway, we have our merch store here. I am well, let me pull that up. So I am wearing, of course, Walter football shirt, because that's all I have, except for like 3 shirts. So yeah, we have mugs here. As I said yesterday, oh look, this one's 16.40. That's pretty good. Yeah, these are like $16 to $19 right now. They're having a 20% off sale. So yeah, I mean this is pretty good. As I always say, these are high quality shirts. So even if you like don't want a Walter football shirt, like it's still like cheap clothing that'll last you for several years. So or even longer. So yeah, I've had most of my shirts for like 4, 5, 6 years now. So they've all lasted. Nothing wrong with them. Well, technically, one of my shirts got eaten by my dog, but the other ones are fine. So yeah, these are all I feel like good prices right now. Also, please consider super chats, super stickers. That really keeps us going because YouTube ads, as I always say, pay us nothing. It's like 25 to 60 cents. Like it's pretty random what we get if we don't get any super chats, super stickers. So yeah, that really helps us out. So John Sanders and Slew have led the way. In the past, we've had Andrew Z, Degeneron, Kevin Kovac, Germ, Can Make an Eagle, Andrew Z. I mentioned that already. And Stuart Griffin. So yeah, if you guys again, like it would be really appreciated. Any help you can give us. Also, I have 3 books on Amazon. The most recent one, Jerks of the College Years, where I made fun of weird people like this that I met at Penn State for 6 years. I went there initially for computer science, and then I transferred to journalism. So that's why I was there for 6 years, not just 4. So I had 2 extra years to find weirdos to write about. So that's that book. Also have the 2020 MVP was stolen. As you can see, this is not quite about football, but it sort of is. It's Aaron Rodgers here and Brett Favre. You guys could probably tell what this is about. So yeah, you can help us out by buying those books as well. Mike says the book is great. Thanks, Mike. Glad you like the book. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you saying that. Yeah, we have good feedback from the book. So if you guys want to check that out, that would be awesome. So as we usually do, we run through these games. I'm going to give my analysis on each of these games. And if you guys have any fantasy questions or any questions at all, just feel free to chime in. So Tampa Bay was up for most of this game on Thursday. Atlanta had the comeback. They won in overtime. Kirk Cousins can't lose in primetime. I mean, he just wins no matter what in primetime. His name is Captain Primetime now. Although like one of the listeners yesterday said that he can't win in late afternoon games, so maybe he needs to work on that. But he is Captain Primetime here. He threw for 509 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was awesome. Drake London and Darnell Mooney went kind of nuts. Let me enlarge this. I think that'll be better. It's pretty cool. The ad just went away like that. And let me get out of here. So all right. So yeah, these receivers were awesome for Atlanta. The two outside guys, London and Mooney, as you would expect, Tampa struggling in the secondary, which they've always done. Bijan Robinson only 12 carries, 61 yards. He really let us down in the props. Had a rough prop day on Thursday. Luckily, we made it up on Monday. We hit our same game parlay in that Chiefs Saints game. But Bijan Robinson only 3 catches, 16 receiving yards. He was not on the field for 2 of the last 3 drives. Tyler Algier was on the field for those drives, which I don't understand at all. Feels like Arthur Smith's mustache is still there, occupying someone else's body. But yeah, I don't quite get it. Now, I think Robinson has a chance to rebound. This was a tough matchup for him. Tampa's great against the run. Next week is Carolina. Carolina just can't tackle. But if they're going to give Robinson the sort of workload, I'm kind of concerned with him. However, it was a game off 3 days of rest, so I suspect that Robinson is going to get more of a workload against Carolina, and I think he could go off. I'm considering putting him in a DraftKings lineup. I think I'm going to play the 555 millionaire lineup. There's only like 1,000 people in it or something, or maybe it's 5,000. I can't remember, but yeah, it's like $1 million the first. So I will be playing one lineup there, and I am considering putting Robinson in that lineup. On the Tampa side, Baker Mayfield only 180 yards, but he threw for 3 touchdowns. Atlanta's defense is ranked 25th in EPA, so they've allowed some big games to opponents. Chris Godwin had the most yardage. Evans had 2 touchdowns though. I played Godwin, but not Evans in my showdown lineup. I still cashed somehow. I think because I had London as my captain. But still, it was disappointing to see Godwin not get into the end zone because he had the better matchup in this game. Atlanta can't cover slot receivers. Rashad White outgained Bucky Irving for maybe the first time this year. I didn't keep track of that, but it's usually Irving outgaining White, and Irving had a big fumble, but he was still used after that, so I wouldn't be concerned about that. All right, let's get to the next game. It is Vikings 23, Jets 17 in London. This was a 17-0 game. The Jets tried to come back, but they didn't quite have the juice to get there. Aaron Rodgers hurt his ankle at the end of the game. I don't know how severe it is. Just have to keep tabs on the practice, the practice reports during the week. And they don't practice until Thursday because they play on Monday night. So I have no news on that yet. Something looks off with Breece Hall. He is one of the league's worst running backs at yards per carry after contact. And he just doesn't have the same juice. Like he used to break long runs routinely, maybe not every game, but every other game or every third game. And he hasn't really done that yet this year. Maybe he's had one, but I don't know. He just hasn't really been the dominant player he was in the past couple of years. So I don't know what's quite going on with him. And I haven't drafted him in any of my I do best ball, so it's now it's week 6 onward. I haven't drafted him in any league yet. It may come back to haunt me, but still, I don't know. And by the way, it's week 6 onward. So the week 5 guys get a premium, and it feels like most people don't understand that on DraftKings. There's one guy I just did a draft an hour ago. This one guy drafted nothing but week 5 guys. His actually have that here. I texted it to Kenny, see if he had a good laugh at it. So his draft, he started with David Montgomery and Devontae Smith. He drafted at 12, so that's 1, 12, and 201. That was his draft. That's how he started. David Montgomery, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts. Then Jamison Williams at 401, and then 2 tight ends. He took Sam Laporta and Dallas Goedert at 5, 12, and 601. He just drafted nothing but week 5 guys. I'm yeah, that's a little too extreme. But anyway, yeah, I haven't drafted Breece Hall at all. Garrett Wilson, the insane numbers: 22 targets, 13 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Didn't seem like that during the game. Maybe it's because I was out of it because it was a 9:30 a.m. start and I go to bed at 6 a.m. So I was running on 2.5 hours of sleep. But yeah, it didn't even feel like that. Tyler Conklin hit the over for us. We had his over receiving yards. He's 6 catches, 55 yards. Lazard keeps getting involved, 10 targets, but Devontae Adams being traded there potentially could impact that. Obviously, we don't know where Adams is going, but it seems like the Jets are one of the main places he could go. As for the Vikings, Sam Darnold had his worst game so far, but it was the toughest matchup. The Jets are second in defense. They've, of course, the no-fly zone with those great corners, and a lot of potential completions were nullified by penalties. Like Justin Jefferson may have driven like 3 or 4 penalties on various cornerbacks. So that was yardage Darnold didn't get. And Jefferson still had 6 catches, 92 yards. Like his numbers would have been so much better if it wasn't for those penalties, if those are catches instead of penalties. The big news here, Aaron Jones got hurt, of course. Jones always gets hurt. Ty Chandler filled in, and Chandler was predictably bad, even against his bad Jets rush defense. He had 30 yards and 14 carries. He's just not a good player. That was Kenny called that, by the way. Kenny was all over that. He hates Ty Chandler. So I wouldn't be rushing to pick him up, especially because the Vikings have week 6 bye. Just feels like, he may, he may get one start or something. I don't know how severe Jones's injury is because they're not practicing. But it might be like one start and just may not be that good. In week 7, the Vikings play, they play the Lions. The Lions have one of the best rush defenses in the NFL. So even if you get one start out of Chandler, you're not getting much out of him. Sue says difficult to put a lot of stock in Thursday games. I know. Yeah, I completely agree. So it's weird dynamics there. The guy's coming off no rest. So I assume this is about Bijan, but yeah. I wish the Thursday games were good. If they had like the teams coming up buys, you would get like a great game between two teams, but you just don't get that because Goodell just hates his workforce. Titans versus Colts is the bust quarterback bowl. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't know if it's fair to call Richardson a bust yet. Like he's only had 5 full games in the NFL. But he is worse than he was last year. That's for sure. So I was expecting more out of him this year, especially when I bet the Colts is a long shot to at 81 to win the Super Bowl. I have no confidence in that now. But it's it was disappointing to see him regress a little bit. Sue says playing in Hackett's offense could put anybody into being off. Yeah, it's kind of wild that he has kept his job. It's usually like a coordinator who falls on the sword first, like rather than a head coach. But because Rodgers loves Hackett, it had to be Saleh. It's like, who else would it be? Who else would they fire? It can't be the defense coordinator. The defense is great. So it had to be Saleh. Dice said Uncle Ted was wrong. Allen didn't have a huge game. No, he did not. All right, let's get to the next game. So Bears 36, Panthers 10. The Panthers got out to a 7-0 lead in this game, and then it was all Chicago. Like the Panthers couldn't sustain any drives after that. Chicago's defense is legit. They're 6th in defensive EPA. They're getting after the quarterback a lot. They have good playmakers in the secondary. The run defense is not that good, but that's the only weakness on the side of the ball. This actually is something I wanted them to do in the offseason was go after like a big defensive tackle. And they spent a lot of money on DeAndre Swift and Keenan Allen instead, and just kind of weird. But anyway, so as far as the Bears are concerned, DeAndre Swift had another good game, as you would expect. Like he just had the easiest part of his schedule. He had the Rams and the Panthers, 2 teams that can't tackle at all. And now he goes into London. He plays the Jaguars, who have a really good run defense. So if you have Swift, I would sell high on him. I would try to get rid of him at all costs. Like Roschon Johnson is getting worked in. He had 10 carries, 2 touchdowns. He's getting the goal line work. So Swift's not even getting that. So now that Swift is going to have tougher opponents, his numbers will go down. Although DJ Moore had a great game, I almost played him in DFS. I guess I didn't pull the trigger at the end because I was looking at that as like a revenge game. But Carolina can't cover on the outside. Ben Wassley said it on Saturday. Like the Panthers are so bad. Ben Wassley, by the way, up to 8th in the Fantasy Pros accuracy, which is pretty cool. I finished 72nd last week, which is like in the middle of the pack, so not bad. But he's 8th. Let's see here. Keenan Allen just not doing anything. 3 catches, 33 yards. You could probably cut him. I didn't put him on the drop list. But he could easily be on the drop list. As far as the Panthers, Chuba Hubbard, another great game. I suspect that's going to continue. The Panthers blocking is awesome. Their interior blocking. They did lose their center, Austin Corbett, but he was the weaker link of the 3 in the interior. It's not like he was playing bad or anything, but Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis are just much better. Taylor Moton's hurt too. You have to watch out for that, but I still like Hubbard going forward, especially against Atlanta. As far as the receivers, Deontay Johnson just couldn't get anything going. Xavier Legette got hurt. I kind of like Jonathan Mingo just for week 6 if Legette is not able to play. He had 5 targets for 2 catches, 37 yards. And I mentioned that because Atlanta is just awful against slot receivers. So Mingo plays in the slot, so he could have a decent game. Um, and then yeah, that's pretty much it for this game. Not much else to say. It's disappointing the Panthers can be more competitive. Um, Justice, should I sell high on Bryce Young? Yeah, I mean, for sure. He was able to play in this game. He went 4 for 7 for 58 yards. So like that might be the best that you're going to get out of him. So yeah, if you're still rostering Bryce Young, it's like maybe like a 30 man 30 team league or something with like 40 roster spots. Maybe you can sell high on him for sure. All right, next game, Ravens 41, Bengals 38. The Bengals threw this one away. So disappointing. They led as underdogs. They led 21. Was it 24-14, 31-21, and 38-28. And then they just blew it. Burrow threw a bad interception in regulation. Ravens forced it overtime. Bengals recovered a fumble, and then they just settled for a 53-yard field goal, and the hold was bad. Just complete coaching disaster for Zach Taylor. I don't know if any coach should have been fired this week. Probably should have been Zach Taylor. But Burrow was awesome. 30 of 39, 392, 5-1. Like Baltimore's secondary is not good, but still very impressive. Zach Moss got hurt in this game. He injured his foot. I don't know how severe it is. He did not practice on Wednesday. So it looks like it's going to be the Chase Brown show against the Giants. Chase Brown looks like he's shot out of a cannon every time he runs. His vision's awful, but he is explosive, and he could have some big gains. Jamar Chase going nuts, though, by the way. 10 catches, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins also has a big game. So as long as Higgins is on the field, like that should benefit Chase just because teams can't double team him as aggressively as, we saw Kansas City do in week 2. Lamar Jackson was terrific, 348 and 4 touchdowns, and then he had 55 rushing yards. He's just playing out of his mind right now. Although this was an easy matchup. Cincinnati already had a bad secondary, and they lost Dax Hill to injury. So it was extra bad. And the Bengals were stacking the box. They had like 10 guys in the box, like just to stop Derrick Henry. And Henry is limited to 92 rushing yards, which is kind of misleading because he had a 51-yard gain in overtime. So before that, simple math says it was 41 rushing yards at the end of regulation. So that's something to keep in mind. I do expect Henry to wear down as the season progresses, just like his running style. A few years ago, it wouldn't have mattered, but like now that he's an older player, I feel like he could wear down. So he's someone I would also try to sell high. Zay Flowers, though, is great. Like he's in the 9 weird games where like the Ravens just ran all over their opponents and just had big leads and didn't need to throw. Zay Flowers has produced pretty well in all 3. He's been great in 2 and like solid in the 3rd game. So he's like the only guy in the receiving core / tight end group that you can really rely on Baltimore. Isaiah likely had 2 touchdowns. Don't expect that to happen again. Mark Andrews ruined our prop. We had an under on him, and like for a while it looked like it was going to hit because he didn't have any catches, and then suddenly he had like a 27-yard reception. Like that was it. But he went 4 for 55. So encouraging sign from him. I like maintain that he was not 100% heading into the year, and so now he's like working into shape, and he should get better as the year goes on. He's someone you could buy low on, although I suspect he's probably on waivers that you can get him. So if you have the spot for him, if you need a tight end, I think you could do worse than Mark Andrews. I think he's going to get better. Let's see, Taylor and McDermott's Spider-Man pointing meme. Yeah, that yeah. I don't. Well, we'll get to the Bills. I don't understand what the Bills are doing. Although, like, there at least is an excuse for that because Josh Allen, he may or may not have been concussed. Like, apparently they say he wasn't, but I suspect he was. So if he was concussed, like, that's the sort of the behavior you would expect from a concussed quarterback, just like bombing it from the 3-yard line unnecessarily, But yeah, at least like that is you can offer explanation of that sort. Whereas the Bengals, there's no explanation because they weren't able to run the ball all game, and their passing game was awesome. And like suddenly they just went to the shell, almost like they were running out the clock in overtime. Like they thought the time would expire or something at the gun, and like that would have at least made some sort of sense. But that wasn't the case. So I don't know. So it says, do the Bills not have any run plays in their playbook when they are on their own 3 yard line? Yeah, or it's like the Rich Kotite thing where he didn't go for two when it was obvious he had to, and then he was asked after the game by the press, they're like, "Why didn't you go for two?" And he said, "Oh, my 2 point play sheet got wet and I couldn't read it." And maybe that's what happened. And now, obviously, it was in the dome, but maybe there's someone dunked it into the Gatorade and the running plays, and maybe the Bills couldn't read the running plays. That's my theory at least. John says it's pretty bad when your quarterback plays so bad you hope he's concussed. That's true. Although, like, he didn't get any help from his receivers. I don't know how many passes were dropped in that game. They dropped so many passes. So it wasn't all his fault. The stat line just looks awful, though. John says they need a first down because the Texans had 3 timeouts, so I kind of get it, but your quarterback is concussed. Yeah, I agree. I think, like, throwing is not the worst idea, but like there were low percentage throws that there were a couple were nearly intercepted. So like why would you do something like that? Throw a screen pass or something. I don't know. All right, next game is here it is. Texans 23, Bills 20. Josh Allen 9 of 30 for 131 and a touchdown. That's like seems like a typo, doesn't it? It feels like it should be 19 out of 30, but it wasn't. And maybe it would have been 19 out of 30 if there were no drops. But no, Allen played poorly. The receivers played poorly. Keon Coleman had a big drop, a couple of drops. He just can't really get separation. Mac Hollins dropped a long touchdown. Dalton Kincaid, only 2 catches, 34 yards. What's going on with him? James Cook was the only guy who played well. And then you have Houston, who the Texans continue to run so much on first and second and long. It just doesn't make any sense because they have CJ Stroud. Now, they got going early in the game. They had Nico Collins hit a 67-yard touchdown. But then soon after, he hurt his hamstring. And the Texans offense just wasn't quite right in the second half. Tank Dell still only 4 for 38. He had a lot in the offseason. He had a couple injuries and he got shot even. It's fair to consider that Tank Dell is just not 100% right now. And like that just might explain his pedestrian production. Dalton Schultz actually, I think, looks good for this week. Like, if you're playing DFS, I think you should consider Dalton Schultz because the Texans play the Patriots, and the Patriots are awful against tight ends. I just saw Jonnu Smith just have a monster game. I think Schultz could do the same, especially with Collins out. Collins is going to be out for at least 4 weeks because he's on IR. So Stephon Diggs should really benefit. Dell should still benefit, although, again, I don't think he's 100%. And then Schultz. As far as running backs is concerned, Joe Mixon did not practice Wednesday, but it's still early in the week, so we'll see. If Mixon doesn't go, I think Dari Ogunbowale is someone you can pick up if you're desperate, if you need a running back, especially in PPR. But I wouldn't be like too hopeful that he's going to do a lot, but he's not the worst. Stephen Grice says, hello, Walt's Football. Hello, Stephen. Thanks for joining us. Jisu says teams can get a first down running the ball. It's possible. It's true. It's true. It's the throw screen pass. I feel like that would have been the best. Steven says, not sure if you're taking any questions. Yes, we are. We take all questions. Doesn't have to be about fantasy. Wondering your thoughts on who to drop in a 10-team full PPR. You have Josh Downs, McConkey, Trey Tucker, Tutu Atwell, Tank Bigsby, Mostert, and Doodle, as we call him here. I think it's between Atwell and Mostert. Now, I say Mostert knowing that Achane suffered concussion, but the Dolphins are off this week, so he might be back for week 7. And I only say Mostert as well because Jalen Wright just looked a lot better last week, so he might be the new backup eventually, at least. But I think I would drop Tutu Atwell just because it sounds like Cooper Kupp has a good chance of coming back in week 7. So if he comes back, he's going to soak up so many targets. And I know that they don't play the same positions. Technically, Jordan Whittington is the same role as Cooper Kupp, but still, Cooper Kupp's out there. He's going to get like 15, 20 targets a game. Like it's going to be insane with no Nakua, obviously. And so like that's just production that Atwell's just not going to get. So I hope that answers your question, Steven. So yeah, we take all questions here. Johnson's Texans offense looked atrocious after Collins went down. Yeah, they couldn't do anything, and like the play calling is just so bad. Slowick is just a poor play caller, and they just kill themselves by just falling into negative script situations. Like they run on first down, and then they run on like 2nd and 9, and then it's like 3rd and 8 suddenly, and they have to throw the ball. And against Jacksonville, Stroud was able to bail them out, but against the Bills, it didn't work as well, especially after Collins got hurt. So yeah, it was a game that it looked like the Texans are going to blow it, and then Allen banged his head on the ground hard, and may have gotten a concussion. So like that ended the comeback. I think if that didn't happen, I think there's a good chance the Bills would have won the game. So anyway, let's get to the next one. Jaguars 37, Colts 34. This was a terrific shootout. The Jaguars actually went up by I think it was 34-20 in the fourth quarter, and then the Colts stormed back. They scored 2 touchdowns, and then the Jaguars hit the field goal at the end. Joe Flacco was awesome, 359, 3 touchdowns. This guy like continues to just defy the odds, because like it was 2 years ago people thought he was done, and yet like last year in Cleveland he was great. Now he's balling out in Indianapolis. He's like Benjamin Button. He like gets better as the years goes on. So I think the Colts would be better off playing Flacco going forward, although kind of like goes against their long-term plans with Richardson. Like they need to develop Richardson, and he can't develop as well on the bench. So it's a pretty rough spot for the Colts. So it's like what do? Do you try to win now, or do you try to win for the future? So Alec Pierce just continues to have like huge games. He's like perfect for best ball, like a late round guy, because like he either does nothing or he goes off on like limited targets. Like he only had 3 targets, but he caught all 3 for 134 and a touchdown. Like he's going to do that. Like next week he's going to have nothing, and then the week after nothing, and then the next week he's going to catch like 2 passes for 80 yards and a touchdown. It's like what he does. Although I like Josh Downs is the guy I'd prefer. Michael Pittman, and then Josh Downs is pretty close. Josh Downs looks so great right now, and as long as it's Flacco on the center, Downs is going to be an awesome PPR guy. So make sure you have him. Adonai Mitchell has 7 targets. He actually didn't play that much. I think he played like 25% of the snaps, if I remember correctly. But he saw 7 targets in those snaps. So all it takes is for one of these guys to go down, like Downs, Pittman, or Pierce. One of them gets injured. Adonai Mitchell is going to play much more, and he gets a lot of separation. Like he's a really talented player. So he's someone that, like, if you see one of those guys get hurt, definitely try to pick him up. And then the Colts running backs, Trey Sermon have 10 carries compared to Tyler Goodson. He was fine, I guess. Like he 38 yards and a touchdown. I don't have his. I think his receiving yards got cut off. I think he caught like 6 passes. But he's okay. Like Jonathan Taylor's going to miss another game or 2. You could play Sermon, but I wouldn't expect great production or anything. For the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence had his best game, 28 of 34, 371, 2 touchdowns and an interception in the rain. Should note because Lawrence in the past has not played well in the rain. But yeah, he played well here. I think it just says that's how bad the Colts defense is. The Colts defense just missing so many players that they just can't cover outside receivers. Brian Thomas went nuts for 5 catches, 122 and a touchdown. But I think the big story here is Tank Bigsby supplanting Travis Etienne. Bigsby had 13 carries compared to Etienne's 6. He had 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. I kind of joked that like this is like the next Emmitt Smith or Walter Payton. But like he's an explosive player. He drags, like there's one play where he like dragged tacklers. Like he's really good, and like they need to get off Etienne. Like Etienne's still a better receiver out of the backfield. Like Bigsby doesn't do that. Etienne still had 6 catches, 43 receiving yards, and he's going to keep that role. But Bigsby needs to be the early down back, and like we saw him take that role here. So I suspect that's going to continue, and it's a good matchup in London. Chicago, as I said earlier, not great against the run. That's kind of like their one weakness defensively. So I think Bigsby could have a good game. See here. Steven says, thank you. I was leaning Tutu or Tucker, even with Adam's stuff going on. Good points. So yeah, you're welcome, Steven. Thanks for joining the show. Sue says, the Slowick have Hackett influence. Sounds like you are describing the same coaching style. Yeah. Hackett just not creative at all. I think I think the Jets are like bottom 3 in like pre-snap motion, stuff like that. Just very predictable play calling. And Slowick is very predictable as well. These guys are just so clueless. Alec Pierce is the new Gabe Davis. I like that. Yeah, he's the new bill collector, as Mike Lucine referred to him. And NFLRoughDraft.com, Mike Lucine. He was on the show. He called Gabe Davis the bill collector because he comes around once per month. But Gabe Davis, he doesn't come around anymore. He's washed up. So now it's Alec Pierce. John says, first round running backs, man. How much data do these teams need? Yep. Yeah. I mean, Jameer gets out from the Lions, in fairness. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, these guys tend to fail. And it's for a position that's so replaceable, by guys in the mid rounds, even late rounds, undrafted free agents. You saw like Arian Foster was an undrafted free agent. Like I'd never get teams using a running back in the first round. It's like you hate everyone else. Like it's a horrible draft and fine, but even still, like try to find a running back later than the first round. So yeah, I don't get it. All right, so we get to Redskins 34, Browns 13. Jane Daniels was not nearly as accurate as he was in the past couple of games, but he still got the job done. He had 11 carries for 82 yards and one scramble that wasn't technically a carry because he threw the ball. Like he evaded a couple of pass rushers, he rolled right, and then he found McLaurin for a 66-yard reception. So he just looks great, and this is the first time in his career that he's played against a team not ranked 21st or worse defensively. Now, the Browns aren't great either defensively because Myles Garrett is not healthy. They're currently 16th, so not a top 10 defense or anything like that. Like he hasn't been challenged in that regard yet. And by the way, Garrett is he missed Wednesday's practice with an Achilles. He's been missing practice with foot injuries, but now it's an Achilles. So it's just trending worse for Garrett. But anyway, Daniels is awesome. Not much else to say about that. McLaurin's great. It seems like they have a new number 2 receiver every week. Like 1 week's Noah Brown, then it's Luke McCaffrey, and then it's Olamide Zaccheaus, and then it's De'Ami Brown. It feels like they should trade for someone like maybe Amari Cooper, maybe obviously Devontae Adams is a big name, but even if they don't get him, like Amari Cooper, maybe DeAndre Hopkins, like someone to be like a solid number 2 across from McLaurin, like that's something they need offensively. So anyway, as far as the Browns are concerned, Deshaun Watson just a disaster. He's not looking downfield when he sees pressure. Like he drops his eyes, like that's just a horrible sign. And his shoulder is so shot that it looks like he's just like shot putting the ball. And it takes him so long to release the ball that it's like causing some strip sacks. He's beyond broken. I don't think there's any salvaging him at this point. Maybe if he takes like a year off or something, and he fixes his shoulder and like he just gets right mentally, like he's still young. But right now, like he's not going to be fixed this year. So it should be Jameis Winston. If the Browns had any common sense, it would be Winston. But I don't think this is on Kevin Stefanski. Stefanski in a press conference this week said that he kind of hinted that it wasn't his call to bench Watson. Because like I forget how the question went. Like someone asked him like how much or like do you delegate that decision to anyone else? And he said he's like, yeah, we talk it over and we make decisions that way. And so I feel like the powers above him kind of have him in this like stranglehold where he can't make a decision to bench Watson, which is kind of bizarre if you think about it. Just like you're not letting the coach his team. It just like shows you how dysfunctional this Browns team is. So yeah, I'm staying away from the Browns. From moving on, I wasted 3 units on them this week. Never again. The only way I'll bet on them is if we're getting points with them and they're playing a bad team. That's like the only way. Or if they bench Watson eventually. So I don't want to bet Watson again. He just sucks. Mark Cooper, 10 targets, only 4 catches, 60 yards. He just like the balls are just not getting there. I know he's had some drops, but like there's like uncatchable balls for Cooper, and he should be doing much better. And then Jerome Ford, Deontay Foreman split evenly, 9 carries each. Just don't know what to say about that. All right, let's see. John says, does anyone have it worse than the Browns fans stuck in mediocrity because of the loss of contract? It's not even mediocrity at this point. Like they're pedestrian right now. They used to be mediocre. They were good last year, actually. They made the playoffs. Maybe they need to trade for Joe Flacco. And by the way, I heard that the Browns didn't even like offer Flacco any sort of deal to stay. They just let him go. when he was their best quarterback last year. It's so bizarre. It says, my eyes tell me the Browns give up way too many explosive plays. Yeah, they're not the same defense. If Garrett is not healthy, they just can't be the same defense because like he's arguably the best defensive player in the NFL. But if he can't get to the quarterback as often, then that just completely nullifies it. I just think he needs a few massages. Yeah, take the year off, go to like tour the massage parlors of the U.S. Maybe he'll get right. I don't know. I really don't know what to do with Watson at this point. Because he's just like such a blight on their cap space. But they have to bench him. Like he just sucks. He's so bad. Winston again. If the week they make the change to Winston, I will be betting the Browns. Especially if their offensive line's healthy. Like I think they'll be so much better with Winston. Anyway, so we had Dolphins 15, Patriots 10. Dolphins almost lost this game. Jalen Polk appeared to score a touchdown, and then it was ruled that his heel was out of bounds, even though his toe was in. But still, like the Dolphins, I feel like that would have been a bad beat because the Dolphins outgained the Patriots by 100 yards. They had I think it was a punt that was blocked. They missed 2 field goals. They just moved the ball so much better on New England than the opposite. Huntley was not bad, 18 of 31 for 194. Like that's so much better than Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle. It's not great, but still just a big improvement there. Tyreek Hill 6 for 69, and Jalen Waddle 4 for 46. Like this is what you're going to expect until Tua comes back, and apparently Tua is due back week 8. We'll see. I mean, things could always change with the concussion schedule, but I think that there's a chance that Hill and Waddle could be very productive in a few weeks. Jalen Wright looked good. 13 carries, 86 yards. He had a lot of like runs to the outside. Most of it was in between the tackles. Most of it looked good, but Wright looked great, I thought. So he might be the number 2 back going forward. HN, as I said before, he had the concussion, but they have the week off this week, so I don't think you need to worry about that. As far as the Patriots are concerned, Brissett has been benched. It's going to be Drake May, which, you don't want Drake May to turn to David Carr, who took, 71, 72 sacks as a rookie. And this Patriots offensive line is bad enough to get him there. But Drake May has more mobility. He can escape the pocket much more than Brissett can. So that will at least help them win or be competitive in more games. And I think that he could get Hunter Henry more involved, Amari Douglas as well. Douglas has been really good ever since he got blanked the week 2. He's been way more productive. Stevenson is frustrating because he got benched, and it was only for one play, and then they just put him back in because he had a fumble in every game up to this one. And so I guess it was Gerard Mayo just sending a message. What kind of message is it to bench a guy for one play? Like if you bench for a quarter, I can understand it. But it's so stupid. But anyway, I guess it worked because Stevenson didn't fumble. So, congrats to Gerard Mayo, I suppose. So that worked. Let's see. This is McConkey and 10 team. What are we doing? I like McConkey in PPR. I like McConkey. If this is standard, no. But McConkey is catching a lot of passes. He's the number 1 receiver there. He's like good for like 5 catches, 60 yards each week. It's like 11 points in PPR. It's fine. Ethan asking trade Tank Dell and McLaurin for DK Metcalf and Jalen Waddle. So again, this is like receiver and receiver for receiver, which like I just don't get because like this is one team ripping off the other potentially. It's not like you're trading a running back for a receiver, if you need a receiver more or vice versa. But anyway, as far as this trade is concerned, I think I'd rather have. It's close. The problem here is like you don't know Tua's health. I don't know, guys. What do you think about this trade? I think it's pretty even. Because Metcalf is the guy you want. Waddle is the worst of the. Actually, I think Dell might be the worst of the 4 because he's not healthy. Yeah. So you know what? I think I'd rather have Metcalf and Waddle if Tua indeed comes back in week 8. Obviously, you don't know that, and another concussion could knock him out. So that's the issue. But Dell doesn't seem like he's 100% either. So I think I'd rather have the Metcalf half of it. But you could go. I think it's super close. Eagle for the win. Yeah, Alec Ingold, of course. Did he make the stat line here? No, he did not. Alec Ingold saw. I guess that's what it took. It's just like not involving Alec Ingold, not making him the centerpiece of the offense. Troy asking, I traded my Gibbs and Cooper for Chase. What do you think? Um, I like it. Jamar Chase is just insane right now. And running backs can get hurt at any moment. Obviously, anyone can get hurt. Like running backs more so. So yeah, I like that. So especially if you didn't need the depth. Yeah. So Ty says hasn't caught more than 5 in his 10-team league, and has Trey Tucker 2-2 like his bench. Team is awful for 10 teams. Well, I don't know. I mean, you don't know how deep his bench is, right? Like, what if it's a super deep bench or something? I think that would make more sense. But no, I think Lad McConkey has a place on a team in 10-team leagues. Ingold scored winning touchdown against the Patriots. Oh, did he? Oh, did he really? Okay. Okay. Yeah, he did. 1 carry, 3 yards. I was looking at receiving for some reason. Yeah, he did. One carry, 3 yards, 1 touchdown. There you go. He was the key piece of that offense. They ran with Wright and Mostert, but it was Ingold delivering the game-winning play. So congrats to Ingold. All right, Broncos 34, Raiders 18. So Bo Nix looked good, I guess. Although like the Raiders were in shambles defensively. Max Crosby had his worst game of the year because he's not healthy. But Nix went 19 to 27 for 206 and 2 touchdowns. It's good progression for him. It's a good matchup, but still, I'm more interested to see how he does this week if Joey Bosa comes back. Which, by the way, Bosa missed Wednesday's practice, so obviously not ideal. Javonte Williams getting most of the workload here, 13 carries, 61 yards, and 5 catches, 50 receiving yards, which I think is going to be the case with Tyler Bidet on IR. Julian McLaughlin's not a workhorse back by any means, so it's only Javonte Williams. When they get Audric Estime back, then that might change, but for now, it's just going to be Javonte Williams. Cortland Sutton, very disappointing game, 2 catches, 32 yards, but the Broncos were way ahead for most of the game. They didn't really need to throw downfield, and it's not like Bo Nix throws downfield anyway. So Sutton's always going to be like a mediocre producer at best, just as like Bo Nix is so limited in what he can do. But yeah, Javonte Williams, I guess, is the guy to own here. I suspect Denver is going to regress a lot in the coming weeks. Raiders benched Gardner Minshew. It's going to be Aiden O'Connell, which makes me like the Raiders more this week. So I'm hoping that they get a better practice report than we saw today, which is Max Crosby was DNP and Colton Miller was DNP. So not good news. Very frustrating for someone who wanted to bet on the Raiders. I still am going to, but it's not going to be nearly as big of a bet if those guys are out. Brock Bowers looked great. 8 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Denver is terrible against tight ends. They leave the middle of the field wide open for everyone. So something to keep in mind for matchups going forward. But Bowers is going to be great. I think he's the number 2 tight end right now behind Kittle. So yeah, I feel like he's going to stay in the top 3 barring injury. Jacoby Myers, solid game, 6 for 72. Trey Tucker, a worst game that he's had. He's been solid leading up to this one. Only 2 catches, 18 yards. Denver's secondary is really good, so he's going to have easier matchups going forward. Let's see, Noah Brown. Oh, Noah Brown taking the time off from practice to join us here, and he's 1-4. Unlike the opposite of the Redskins. Noah Brown, he's 4-1. Okay, he's 1-4 and short at running back. So right now he has Jane Daniels, Ramondre Stevenson, Tank Bigsby, Nick Chubb, Isaiah Pacheco. So Pacheco's going to come back in like 4 to 5 weeks. So you're going to be okay there eventually. Receivers, London, CD, Marvin Harrison Jr., Dubs, Keon Coleman. You trading London, Dubs, Chubb, Stevenson for Tyreek, Pickens, and Conner. 17 trade. That's a lot. So I am no fan of Dubs. I'm no fan of Chubb this year. Maybe next year, but not this year. Stevenson, you never know. Stevenson, by the way, missed Wednesday's practice. I don't know what to make of that. But so getting Tyreek, who should be good in week 8, Pickens, and Conner. So the problem with Pickens is that he got benched on Sunday night. I think is because he was loafing on his routes and maybe in practice. He's just a bad character guy. You know, you'd expect that from him when things go bad. So although I do love Conner, I love Tyreek in week 8 onward. Although you never know. Like Tua suffers a setback or something. So you're trading basically like taking the garbage out. You're trading London and Stevenson for Tyreek Hill and James Conner, which I like. I think you should do that trade. Um, let's see. What do you think of the team? What I need to work on? So as far as the team's concerned, again, I agree with your assessment of your running backs. You need a better running back, like James Conner would be a nice addition. I don't think you need to do like a crazy 17 trade. Like you could just trade like someone for Conner or someone comparable. Like I almost want to say like Marvin Harrison Jr. for Conner and maybe something else. I think that makes sense. Because you have London, CD, other you're kind of thin at receivers, so I would be worried about that. You know what? I think that like Stevenson and Bigsby are fine on their own right now. And then like I said, Pacheco I think will be back at like week 11 or week 10 or something like that, or maybe week 12. So you're going to get him for the fantasy playoffs. So I don't think you need to panic and make a bad trade. Just like, throw some trade offers out there, see what you can get. Maybe package some of your crap for someone mediocre. Like you like trade like Dubs is coming back. Wait for Dubs to have a good game and then trade him and someone else for like an above average player or something. But yeah, you don't need to like panic and make a panic move or something. So Jay Smells, I like the name. What do you think of the team when in Newark? Oh, sorry. See, I'm getting confused here. I have Rashad White, Brees Hall, Stroud, Jordan Love, Deontay Johnson, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., McBride, Kyle Pitts, Chase Brown, Jonathan Brooks, Tank Dell, Pollard, Metcalf, Bigsby. I mean that's I'm a different person. I think. I mean, it looks like a good team to me. I'm not a fan of Rashad White. I think he's going to lose his job eventually. And then I never liked Jonathan Brooks this year because the torn ACL. I hate running backs coming off torn ACLs. So I think your team looks really good. I would try to like when Rashad White has a good game, try to trade him high, like sell high on him. And then maybe package him and Jonathan Brooks for someone good. But like I think you have a good team anyway. I don't think you need to do much. Let's see, 2 flex league right now. Okay, that makes sense. And then Chubb is worthless in your opinion. He's not worthless, but he just had such a brutal knee injury. Like coming back from that is going to be so difficult. Even when he plays, I'd be shocked if he gets like a full workload. Like the first few games he comes back, which like who knows when that'll be. I feel like he's going to be capped at like 8 or 9 carries. I can't see him doing much. Like it was that knee injury like has ended careers in the past. So I think next year he's going to be maybe good, but this year there was no way I was drafting Chubb in like any round this year. So that's what my stance was on it. Noah says, I just thought that trade was worth it because Tyreek seems like more valuable than London. If Tua comes back in week 8, like we think, then yes, I agree. But again, he might suffer a setback. Like that's the issue. Like what if he can't clear protocol? Or what if he gets another concussion? Like then Hill is worthless again, or almost worthless. So that's the problem here. But I think you should go for the upside. I think Hill could win you a league, and if you get him cheaply, I think you should do it. Just know it comes with risk. All right, next game we have Cardinals 24, 49ers 23. Everyone knows the kicker story here. The Niners lost Jake Moody to an injury in the second quarter. They couldn't kick any field goals. They even had to go for it on like 4th and 27 or something. It was just so brutal for them. But the Cardinals, they're not going to be like, oh, poor Niners. They had a kicker. It's okay. Like they had a field goal blocked, a return for a touchdown. So they had their own special teams disaster in this game. Murray connected with Harrison for a nice gain at the end, but Harrison didn't really do all that much. He had 7 targets, but only 2 catches for 36 yards. Might be able to buy him low at this point. Like he's still a very talented player. Like he's going to produce he's already had some monster games. So like this might be one of his worst games. And the Niners have been really good against number one receivers. So I wouldn't really be worried about this if you have Harrison. McBride played well. And I should note that Michael Wilson, who looked good, the Niners, while they're great against number one receivers, they've been horrible against number two receivers. So that kind of tracked in this game. James Conner looked great as usual. And then for the 49ers, Jordan Mason didn't quite get there. Like Arizona's pretty bad against the run, but they didn't. Mason just couldn't get to 100 yards, but he only had 14 carries because the Niners were down. And that's the issue with Mason is that he doesn't catch passes. So if there's a negative game script, it's kind of like Derrick Henry. If there's a negative game script, then he's just not going to do much. But obviously, the positive game script is going to be great. So I like the Niners to cover against Seattle. So I think Mason could have a monster game on Thursday. Brock Purdy, not quite accurate in this game, but 244. He threw an interception at the end. And Ayuk just went off. And it makes sense because he held out of training camp. He was not in shape, and he used the first 4 weeks of the season to get in shape. And now you're seeing it. Like now he's in shape, 8 for 147. So he went nuts. George Kittle had another great game. George Kittle currently the tight end 1, which makes sense. As long as Trent Williams is healthy, Kittle is going to produce. It's like when Williams gets hurt, Kittle has to block more. So just watch out for that. Debo is a nice buy low, only 3 targets. He's going to do more. But as far as Kittle is concerned, remember that I think week 7 is National Tight Ends Day, so he typically does well in that. If you like your narratives, you can try to get Kittle there or play him in DFS. Thanks for the advice. You're welcome to Noah. Thanks for joining the show. So it says finally won a bet when a place kicker got hurt in the game. Yeah, exactly. Finally, right? Although when the Cardinals had their field goal blocked return for a touchdown, I was pretty tilted, but it ended up working out. John saying, I need running back help today. Traded Debo for Dobbins. I think that's pretty fair. Like in the best ball drafts right now, they're both going like the 4th round. So I think that's a pretty fair trade. Plus, Dobbins has already had his bye, so you're getting some value there. All right, let's go to the next game. Packers 24, Rams 19. The Packers are down in this game because Jordan Love threw like one of the dumbest interceptions you'll see, like underhanded pass out of his own end zone. Like he was trying to avoid a safety, but he threw a pick 6 instead. So pretty stupid decision. I don't think he's healthy yet. So I got a text. Maybe this is Kenny. Let's see. Update from Kenny. Power and internet keep going in and out. We're safe. Okay, good news. With Kenny there. All right, so anyway, Love. I don't think Love is healthy yet. He was not even supposed to come back until week 7 or week 6. So this is, it's kind of like a preemptive return here. I think he's going to be a lot better in the coming weeks. So he's someone you could buy low on if you want. Tucker Kraft is awesome right now. 4 catches, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. Keep in mind though, he's had 2 plus matchups against teams that can't stop tight ends. So there will be some regression. So I wouldn't expect this from Tucker Kraft each week. But I still like him though. Jaden Reed, 478. Decent game there, although kind of worse for him. By the way, speaking of best ball drafts, someone in a draft I did this morning drafted Jaden Reed in the first round. First round, pick 10. And I was like, wow, it's kind of aggressive there. But he does have big upside. Dontavian Wicks, only 2 catches, 20 yards. They just couldn't connect. Wicks dropped some passes. He's going to get better. So I still like Wicks. I spent some fab on him in one of my main leagues, and I really needed to because in that league I'm second in scoring. I'm like right behind first place in scoring. But I'm 1-4 in that league. Just like horrible luck. I keep playing the top scoring team in the league, and I'm always at the second highest scorer. It's just so frustrating. So I was like 1-3. I'm like, I need to spend most of my fab to win some games. And then of course I lost because I had some guys get injured again. Just so brutal. Oh no, I lost because I had Amon-Ra St. Brown on bye. I had Tony Pollard on bye, and then I had AJ Brown who's hurt. So I just couldn't field a healthy team. But I'm still the second highest scorer somehow. So anyway, the point being, I still like Wicks. As far as the Rams are concerned, Kyron Williams looked great, but Blake Corum saw action for the first time this year in bulk. He had 5 carries, 25 yards. He had a goal line carry too, and he couldn't convert. But this is good news for anyone holding on to Corum, because as we know, Kyron Williams is injury prone, and when he goes down, like, there was a matter of like, is it going to be Corum? Is it going to be Ronnie Rivers? It looks like it's going to be Corum, because Ronnie Rivers wasn't involved at all in this game, and Corum looked pretty good, albeit on a very limited workload. So yeah, I would still hold on to Corum. He's like one of the top handcuffs to own. Jordan Whittington 7 for 89, which like is great, but also disappointing, because like Whittington was one of our sleepers that I talked about a lot during the summer. In fact, John Sanders here in the chat would always ask me who is this year's Puka Nacua, and I finally came to the conclusion that it's actually going to be Jordan Whittington, because he was so impressive in the preseason. He was a 6th round pick. You know, Puka was 5th last year, so kind of like matched. And like Whittington is producing. The problem is that he plays the same role as Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp is due back in week 7. So it's pretty upsetting that he's not going to continue this, because he looks pretty good. But anyway, Colby Parkinson 7 for 52. He had 13 targets. Just, I would not expect that to happen again. Anyway, so this Rams offense is going to look a lot better when Cooper Kupp returns, if he does. Who knows? He might have a setback. Let's see here. We have some comments. Jalen Wright is a must-add. I agree. Yeah, Wright looked great. Got offered my Chubba Hubba for his Tyreek Hill. Nice. Let's see. John saying a 12-team league. Jane Daniels, Dobbins, Hubbard, A.J. Brown, Evans, McLaurin, Bowers, Eckler's my lineup. That looks really good. It's great drafting there. Good job. This is Uncle Ted with another horror take. It's like it's like a horror movie. Jalen Wright's a must add. I think I would say like he's a must add. I would add him though if you have a spot for him. Wright is fast in A-Chain and Big AF. I don't know if he's fast in A-Chain, but he is. He's pretty talented. I like Jalen Wright. Just for anyone that has JD5 week 14, bye week is fantasy playoffs. Is it? No, it's weeks 15, 16, 17 are fantasy playoffs, not week 14. Unless like your league is different, but usually it's 15, 16, 17. Just says I had Bears defense versus Jaguars and Chargers versus Broncos. Which defense would you start? I would monitor the Joey Bosa news. He was DMP today, but he could play, and if he does, I like the Chargers against the Broncos. If he does not play, then I think I would go Bears, but it's pretty close. Let's see. So why you're holding 2 defenses? It might be a situation where you can pick them up. I don't think he's necessarily holding 2 defenses. Ladd is this year's new Puka. I mean, Ladd, he's not producing like he isn't top 5 catches yet. He might be eventually. I do like him, but he's not yet. And plus, it's not like. So the whole point of like who's this year's Puka Nacua? Puka Nacua was a 5th round pick who came out of nowhere. Like John was asking, like who is going to be this guy's mid to late round guy who comes out of nowhere and dominates a receiver? Like Ladd was a 1st round pick, right? So of course, like he's not a Puka Nacua. He's just a good player who's expected to be good. Just as in my league, $10 per transaction move. Okay. Yeah, I always like those per transaction moves because they're cheap. I used to be in a league and like there are cheap owners who would never add anyone, and so you'd always have an advantage over them, even if you had to spend a little bit more money. Like they just never would be good because they wouldn't shell out any money, which like was always mind-boggling to me because like in this league it was a $200 entry fee and it was $5 per move. And like these people were willing to fork over $200, but not pay $5 for a transaction, which is like it's like so stupid. I always like led the league in transactions, but these people just like yeah, I pay $200, but I don't want to pay $5. It makes no sense. So yeah, my quarterbacks are JD5, Purdy, Herbert, Fields. That's pretty good. Good job. Do you see any future for Keon Coleman this year? Nah. I think he could have some good games. I don't think he's going to be consistent this year. He doesn't get separation, which is like that was my concern with him entering the NFL. He could have a game where he catches like 2 touchdowns or something, and he's going to look good, and like people are going to add him on the waivers just because those 2 touchdowns, and then the next game he's going to catch like 1 pass. So I wouldn't hold on to him if you don't have to. Let's see, right is 4.3 speed. HN just ridiculous though. Matthias says Walt, like everything I said Saturday is wrong. Yeah, and the Ison versus Uncle Ted. We should do like a boxing, like a celebrity boxing match or something. My league and 4 teams make the playoffs out of 12. Okay, but I still don't understand like why week 14 would be a playoff week though. Round 2. Okay, yeah, still, I mean the cusp of round 1, like he was still pretty high up there. Let's see. I think John has just been mocking the media who are saying X could be the next Puka Nacua nonstop all season. Yeah, I got the joke, but I still took it seriously and I tried to find the next one. Like, and I always like had the caveat. I was like, they're probably not going to be another Puka Nacua. But I was like, that's what I would say. I was like, I don't think there will be a Puka Nacua, but if there is one, I think it will be so and so. And then like my final answer was Jordan Whittington. And glad to see he's doing well, but it sucks that I want to say it sucks that Cooper Kupp's coming back, but it sucks for Whittington that he's coming back, not in general. Jalen Tolbert is Miles Austin 2.0. There you go. Captain Tolbert to Miles Austin 2.0. Miles Austin Jones, by the way. Miles Austin Jones. Would you hold Braylon Allen, Trey Tucker, or Keon? Braylon Allen. Like his potential is through the roof. Breece Hall goes down. Braylon Allen. Like if you're to redraft right now, and like let's just say Breece Hall got an injury, he fell down the stairs, tore his ACL, got an injury right now, and he had to redraft right now for the rest of the season, Braylon Allen would be first round pick, like or late. I would say late first round pick, early second, like no question about it. Like his upside's through the roof. Whereas Trey Tucker is a fine player, he's okay. Keon Coleman can't get open. And Braylon Allen just like no doubt. Don Sanders 311 super chat. Thank you so much, John. It was next season's pick going to go. Oh God, I have to look at Charlie's prospect rankings. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, this is the easiest way. I off the top of my head, I have no idea who's going to go like the mid rounds or anything of that. So I just at this point of the year, I have to rely on Charlie, and then like as soon as the season ends, I can catch up and just go from there. But right now, I'm like focused on picks and fantasy. So I just updated his receivers list. Let's look at the Jamal Banks, 6'4", 205. Bo Collins, no. Kobe Prentice. There you go. Let's see. Dominic Lovett. I'm gonna go with Dominic Lovett. I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah, just pick a name out of a hat with these guys. Elijah Badger, perhaps. Maybe he's the guy. Yeah, he's took over for Ricky Pearsall. Yeah, there you go. Or Mushin Muhammad's son. All right, let's do that. Mushin Muhammad's son. Moose Muhammad. I'm looking forward to him being in the NFL. So, yeah, there you go. Charlie calls him a gritty receiver. So, you know, I think I'd go with him. So that there's I don't think there's going to be a Puka Nacua next season, but if there is, it's going to be Moose Muhammad. Over the Rams draft. Yeah, exactly. just wait until they draft. All right. Anyway, let's go back to the games. The next one, Giants 29, Seahawks 20. This is crazy because like we had the 99-yard touchdown return with like Eric Ray try to run into the end zone, and then Seattle scooped and scored. Rayshawn Jenkins, and it looked like a heartbreak for the Giants. Like they tried so hard to score on that drive, and then Seattle just ran it back. And then to their credit, they outscored Seattle the rest of the way, 29-13. And like it still wasn't even that close because like they led by a pretty substantial score, and like Seattle mounted a comeback, and like it looked like Seattle was going to force overtime, but they had they missed the field goal at the end. So yeah, Seattle was in an obvious look ahead because they had the 49ers coming up tomorrow. Geno Smith, great stats in a comeback mode. He didn't play as well as the numbers say, but you know, he accumulated some good stats. It actually reminded me of what Russell Wilson used to do in Seattle. Like sometimes he'd fall way behind, and then he'd like win a DraftKings tournament because he would have just insane production at the end. It's kind of like Dak Prescott against Baltimore or this year, or against Green Bay in last year's playoffs. It's the same sort of deal. 4 carries, 72 rushing yards, kind of insane. Kenneth Walker did nothing because the Seahawks barely had the ball. The Giants just like sat on the ball the entire game. I have to imagine if you're a Seahawks fan, like that game must have been so frustrating because they never had the ball. Although Walker had 7 catches, 57 receiving yards, so there's that. Lockett led the team in receiving, which is kind of weird. Metcalf 4 for 55. As far as the Giants are concerned, so it was weird. Eric Gray started the game. I don't know if he technically started, but he was getting a lot of work on the first drive. But it was Tyron Tracy who like did his best Gale Sayers imitation. 18 carries, 129. Like he looks great. I think he's legit running back and in this league. Now he's going to be stuck behind Devin Singletary when Singletary comes back, but maybe this performance is like maybe we can lay on Singletary for a week or two. So I added Tracy in that league I was talking about where I'm 1-4, but the second high score I put in was 20% fab, and I ended up getting him. So I have to win some games. Like I'm desperate at 1-4, even though I'm second high scorer. So I have to hope that Tracy can help get me there. Daniel Jones had a great game, 23, 34, 257, 2 touchdowns. Like if the Giants can get this out of him most weeks, like they'll be good. And it's weird that he did this without Malik Neighbors. Darius Slayton went off 8 for 122 and a touchdown. Neighbors, by the way, missed practice today with this concussion. I thought maybe he'd be at least limited, but it's bad sign that he was DNP today. So it's kind of sucks if you have Neighbors. Let's see. No, start Bigsby or Allen this week. If that's Braylon Allen, it's definitely Bigsby. I don't even know what Allen that could be. Yeah, definitely Bigsby. He looks great, and Chicago not very good against the run. And he got 13 carries compared to ATN's 6. So that's pretty significant. Let's see. I drafted Wan'Dale Robinson last pick of my draft. He filled in for AJ Brown injury and did a good job for me. He's PPR. He's great in PPR. Sue says, should I trade Ingold for Saints number 50, Kalen Saunders? He looked great. He looked great running that interception back. It's just like it looked like a huge bowling ball, like knocking people out of the way. It was awesome. Cassandra, a good question here. What is the deal with the Colts Titans line? Does Pittman merit a 1.5, or was it some QB news? I think it was the QB news. I think it was the news that Will Levis was full in practice, which I was confused about. Which I guess they value him more than Mason Rudolph, which is nuts to me. Yeah, so they moved the point. They moved the line 3.5 points, and I was like, what happened here? Because I felt the same way. I'm like, was there some kind of crazy injury? But no, it was Will Levis. Like I guess they really like Levis, and to his credit, Levis makes some great throws. The problem is that he just sabotages games with like dumb decision making, throwing the ball underhanded backwards, or just heaving passes underhanded, or taking horrible sacks, or just like staring down his receivers, throwing picks. Like this guy is just a disaster. And like anytime he throws the ball, like something awful can happen. But something great can happen too. Like I said, he's just made some amazing throws this year. Like I see why teams are high on him. Like the scuttlebutt before the draft, before he was drafted in 2023, was that the Colts were going to take him number 4, and like obviously that didn't happen. But like teams like his upside enough to project that. But there's just a major downside too. So. I don't know. Maybe it's because like Mason Rudolph is so mediocre that like he doesn't really do anything well, but he at least takes care of the ball. Feels like if you like combine the two, they would be a good quarterback. Like just like give Will Levis Mason Rudolph's brain, and like they'll be awesome. But that unfortunately is not the case. But yeah, the Will Levis line moved, or the Will Levis injury news moved the line. So I don't know if I agree with it, but that's what happened. Yeah, Bigsby start for sure. All right, we go to the next game, which is the Sunday night game. Cowboys 20, Steelers 17. The Steelers lost us on the last play of the game. So frustrating for someone who bet the Steelers. But Evan said it last night. The Steelers deserved to lose that game. They got outgained by 200 yards. Their defense was not good. They couldn't stop Rico Dowdle. They couldn't stop the Cowboys in between the 20s. They needed interceptions and fumbles in the red zone to be competitive. They were horrible on third downs. I think they converted like 2 third downs or something during the game. Justin Fields looked lost, especially when George Pickens was benched. I don't know how you bench George Pickens because, like, yeah, like maybe he's being a knucklehead, but they have nothing else at receiver. Like your receivers are Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin. Like that's not an NFL offense. And then to make matters worse, the Steelers couldn't block because James Daniels got hurt. So this is a team in a tailspin. Najee Harris, by the way, looks like he's 300 pounds. Like he's awful. I don't know how the Steelers are going to win many games going forward. Yeah, their defense will win some, but like they're not going to win a lot. And I think that as Evan pointed out, like Steelers under wins. If you can get an under 9.5, I think I would do that. And maybe you will if they beat the Raiders this week. Maybe it'll go to 9.5. But right now they don't look good. I think the James Daniels injury just really hurt them offensively. And then for Dallas, I just don't really trust this. Like TJ Watt was on the bench for a lot of the fourth quarter. I don't think Rico Doodle is going to do that much. Like in most games, Jalen Tolbert I don't think he's that talented. He went 7 for 87 a touchdown, but I don't expect that to continue. I do love Jake Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb, obviously. CeeDee Lamb, by the way, has not hit his ceiling yet. He might do that this week against Detroit. Like Detroit's pretty bad against slot receivers, so it could be Lamb's game. And then Prescott's going to be awesome when he's trailing by 24, and then he has to throw for a lot of garbage yards. I feel like that could happen this week against Detroit. I am in that lineup I was talking about in DraftKings. I think I'm playing Prescott with Lamb and running it back with like Jahmyr Gibbs or something. Just because if the lines go ahead, like if they go up like 2 or 3 touchdowns, which is possible given that Micah Parsons not going to play, I think Prescott could just go nuts, especially against a pass funnel defense. Like Detroit's great against the run, so I think Prescott could have like a great second half. So yeah, not much else to say about this. Kevontae Turpin, by the way, looks pretty good. It's 4 for 50. I think I trust him over Tolbert more. Like, I know Tolbert's playing more, but Turpin I think is more talented than Turpin. So Turpin's more talented than Tolbert, I should say. So I don't know when that's going to flip. If it does flip, I don't know if it will, but he's someone to watch out for. I bet everyone went out and tried to get Tolbert, and no one got Turpin. I think Turpin has more upside. Anyway, let's see. Levi's interception prop is a standard play. Yeah, that is in play again. I will be betting Will Levis anytime interception for sure. So how does the Steelers win throwing to Van Jefferson and assortment of tight ends? Yeah, they don't. That's how they convert only two third downs like the entire game. Like I assume that Pickens is going to play more this week. It's kind of like a 1-game benching or something. But if he continues to be a knucklehead, like they're just not going to score anything. Like they can't run the ball, they can't block, and then they have no receiving threats outside of Pickens. Like it just seems like an awful offense. And Arthur Smith is coaching it, so that. So last game, Chiefs 26, Saints 13. So you had your standard Saints can't stop tight ends. So we played Juwan Johnson over receiving yards. That hit. Although I was tilted when Foster Moreau caught the touchdown because I had Johnson in DFS. But still, like the tight end hit. And then on the other hand, the Saints can't stop slot receivers or tight ends. Who went off? Slot receiver Juju Smith-Schuster for 7-130, tight end Travis Kelce for 9 for 70, and also Noah Gray, who had a touchdown wiped out because of a penalty. So pretty predictable here. I think, although granted, like I didn't think Juju was going to do this, but I thought he would at least have a decent game. And so Juju is, everyone's going to add him, and I would too, especially in PPR. But I would not expect 7 for 130 every week. Like you might get like 5 for 70, which is good for PPR. Like he's going to be more involved. He's Rashee Rice's replacement, but he's just not nearly as talented. And this is a great matchup for him. So again, this is his ceiling game. Granted, he didn't score a touchdown, but still, like yardage wise, this is the ceiling, like by far. So I wouldn't expect something like this again, but I'd still add him. Kelsey, by the way, he should continue to do this. Like I was very bearish on Kelsey just because of Rashee Rice, but the Rice gone, Kelsey is just going to be way more productive. And I was asked a question about Xavier Worthy on Facebook this week. I think he's going to be super inconsistent. And someone asked me that person asked me if he could be like the next Deshaun Jackson, and I really don't think so. I think Deshaun Jackson's just way more talented. They still have, like they have crazy speed, like that's the only similarity. Like Jackson is just a much better player. As far as the Saints are concerned, Derek Carr is out, so it's going to be Spencer Rattler, who looked good in the preseason, but did not look as good in college at times. Yeah, Rattler has some upside here. It will hurt Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Alvin Kamara missed practice, by the way, on Wednesday, so look out for that. If you have Kamara, you might want to pick up Jamal Williams, but that's about it for the Saints. They're not going to win very much without Derek Carr. Not like they won very much with Derek Carr, but they're going to be worse. Let's see. Would you drop Worthy for Schuster? That's a good question. In PPR I would, yeah. If the standard, I don't. Probably not. Probably keep Worthy just for the upside, but PPR I would. I think they're just much different PPR than standard. All right, so yeah, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Thank you especially to John Sanders for the 311 super chat. Just thank you, John, so much. Just really keeps us going here with the lack of revenue from the YouTube ads. Sue says on Manningcast, Belichick was not happy with Saints coverage of Kelsey. Yeah, it would be. The Saints don't cover tight ends. So that's their thing. They just tight ends and slot receivers. They just leave those guys wide open. The middle of the field is always wide open there. Sandra says, after Juju gave away that interception, I reposted your please don't make any adjustments for Juju posts from a couple of months ago. I deleted it after Juju went off because I didn't want you to think. Yeah, I was mocking you. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have thought that. No, I get it, and like that drop that turned into an interception was had to be like frustrating for any Chiefs supporter, but or anyone who's watched Juju over the years, like kind of expected that. But yeah, he went off, and that was dead serious. So I posted. Yeah, so yeah, it's funny. It's just Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. He can make pedestrian receivers look good. And that's what he's doing with Juju. He did it 2 years ago with Juju. Juju has he's done well. Like he needed Rashee Rice to get hurt. That was the thing. So I expect that he's going to be productive, but not crazy productive. I think he's going to be pretty solid. College Picks posted, not yet. I will be working on those when we get off. I will post them later tonight. I had some stuff to take care of this afternoon. That's why I didn't get to it, but I will be posting them tonight. So they'll be up within an hour or 2 hours. So I'll tweet them out when they're posted. Jaden Daniels or Josh Allen this week. Also, is Dell worth a flex spot now? I have Ayuk and Dobbins at flex. I would play Jaden Daniels this week. The Jets have the number 2 defense in the NFL. They're great against the pass. Josh Allen has not done well in the Meadowlands. And Jaden Daniels is playing against a Baltimore secondary that has a lot of issues. Marlon Humphrey, by the way, missed practice today, so they might even be worse than usual. Is Dell worth a flex spot? Yeah. As long as Nico Collins is out, I think so. You have Ayuk and Dobbins in flex. Oh well, I think I'd play Ayuk over him for sure. And then if it's standard scoring, then I would play Dobbins over Dell. If it's PPR, I think I'd play Dell over Dobbins. But yeah, Ayuk is the number one guy. Like Ayuk is finally healthy now, or in shape. I mean, he's finally in shape now, so he's going to be ready to go. I think he's going to have a great second half of the season. So. Number 2 defense at 2 and 3. Good thing they fired their offensive minded coach. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's what they should have done. I mean, like Hackett's a phenomenal coach. Like he has them at 2 and 3, despite their number 2 defense. Parlay Levis and Rattler interception prop. That's interesting. I might do that just for fun. But I definitely will be betting Levis anytime interception. All right, guys. And once again, thank you so much. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description of the merch store. And please hope for safety for Kenny and Charlie. I haven't heard from Charlie. I hope he's okay. Kenny, like I said, just heard from him about a half hour ago, and all seems well with him right now and his family and his house. So hopefully everything continues to go well. I'll be back tomorrow with Andy after the Thursday night game, about 15 to 20 minutes after the Thursday night game. We'll have Andy Isco on, the professional bettor from Las Vegas, who I always think he does a great job as a co-host on the show. So looking forward to that. And then Saturday with Tom. Which is it's the first time in a couple of weeks Tom will be on. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So we'll talk to you later right after this Tampa Bay Rays roof halfway blew off. Wow, that's crazy. I'll have to see that video. That's insane. All right, guys. Yeah, if you're in the hurricane like path, please stay safe. Otherwise, have a great night, and I will talk to you tomorrow.